Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this is a really, really cool RPG. I just got done reading this, and I goofed around and I played a quick little session of it with my daughter and my wife this past weekend. And we had a lot of fun with it. Now, the name of it, Dark Places and Demogorgons, you might be saying, and the font, if you will, is it kind of like a Stranger Things thing? And yes, it is a Stranger Things thing. Cool story. I was at Dice Tower Con this past summer, and I was wandering around and I saw this guy come in and he had on a t-shirt that said Stranger Things 2, right? Just a black t-shirt, red lettering. And I said, oh man, I am so looking forward to the second season of that show. And he said, yes, it's awesome. And I said, yes, Stranger Things is awesome. And that's an awesome shirt. Where did you get it? He's like, no, the second season is awesome. And I said, what does that mean? And he said, I am a location director for Stranger Things, and I helped film all of the second season. And I was like, I was like, dude, what can you tell me? What happened? And he's like, I can't tell you anything, but it's awesome. He said, just don't worry about it. It's great. It's amazing. You'll love it. You know, I was like, tell me! So I had this idea of like maybe somehow like getting him to play some games with me, and then like maybe like just slowly try to extract some information from him. But then he went somewhere else, and I never saw him again. So maybe he was totally full of it, but all of his friends were there with him, and they were all nodding their head like he was telling the truth. So maybe either I was completely and totally suckered in by his skillful lies, whatever. Anyway, that has nothing to do with this. So this, however, is a really, really cool RPG. Now, I'm just going to say right from the get-go, if you've played D&D, none of these rules are really going to be weird for you. There's all the standard 6 attributes that we've all come to know and love: strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. Those 6, you're going to roll 3d6, you're going to get those stats. And then there's a 7th stat called survival. Now, I'll tell you exactly what survival is so I don't forget. Survival is just rolled like all the other ones. And survival, what it is that when you roll like a d20, if it's a hit or if it's a save or whatever, you roll a d20, and if you don't like the result that you get, you can spend a point of survival, and then you can re-roll. You re-roll the 20-sided die, but you have to take the second roll. So the big thing there is that when you use it up, you use a point of your survival. So you kind of like, you have a starting, like you roll a 10. You got a 10 for your survival. You start with 10 points, so you use a point of your survival to do that. And then you can use them all up if you want to. There's nothing stopping you, but you only get 1 back per like session. So, like, it's like if you start using them all up, you won't have any pretty soon, and then you'll be kind of behind the 8 ball, if you will. But there's going to be times when it's like, oh, well, if I don't make this saving throw, I'm going to die, so I might as well use a point of survival for it. So, regardless. So, it's a cool little 7 stat, and it adds to the longevity of the players a great deal. Because this is a very dangerous world that they've created here. It is, they reference that it is like in a quaint little suburb, Jefferson City, or J-Town as it's referenced by the players. But you could put this in any setting you want, if you will. And they basically just it talks about, like, basically you have kids that are going to grow up, and you're going to be like a teenager. And but you're a kid growing up in this small town, and strange things are starting to happen in the 80s, and that's what this it's set in the 1980s. And what it means is like when you say strange things, it's like people are having like seeing like weird things in the forests. Maybe like there's some people that have vanished and disappeared. And just like there's this ominous feeling of things that just shouldn't be happening are happening. Like government agents are in this town. Why are they here? Why what are they doing cruising around this place? Just a lot of unexplained stuff. And so each person is going to make a character that's going to be a kid, and the kids come in. There's technically like 5 classes that you can be, and then each of those classes has like a subset. So like the smart kids, there's like the nerds or the geeks, if you will. The popular kids, there's the good looking ones, or there's the jock. The outsider kids, those are the ones that are like the heavy metal listeners, or the goths, if you will. And each one of those has their own. It's a class, just like in D&D. Like a fighter is a class, wizard a class. Well, being a goth is a class, and you have certain skills and abilities that you're going to get for being that. If you're the bully, you're probably going to be good at intimidating people. You're going to be good at fighting. You're going to have like these little things that are bonuses. But but you're not going to be like the smartest, the sharpest knife in the drawer, if you will. Where the exact opposite, of course, would be if you were the computer geek, if you will. So there's cool stuff like that, and plus there's like an interesting table here, and I was trying to find that that allows you to like kind of have like a weird background, if you will, like something for that kind of sets you apart, something that's like different, and it could be as simple as like, oh, here we go. So like the background, it could be something like you suspect your parents are aliens, shape changers, werewolves, vampires, or something else supernatural. Now, maybe that's true, maybe it isn't. It's just something other. Your dad is locally famous for being a Bigfoot hunter. People laugh at your family, but you have access to guns. So it's like stuff like that you have. Your parents are super loving, but are always in your business. Add $10d6 to your starting inventory. So it's just like kids. You don't have a lot of money unless like you're one of the rich kids or whatever. Then you will have some, but but you're going to have the same trials and tribulations as a kid. Now, another cool thing about this game is that unlike D&D, where everybody's got plate mail and they're walking around with shields, like your armor class in this is classic D. Well, I shouldn't say classic D&D, but the old D20 system. Your armor class is 10. Maybe you get a bonus for having like higher dexterity. You can dodge out of the way, but unless you own like a leather jacket or something like that, you don't have bulletproof vests that you're gonna be wearing. You're not gonna have those things to keep you safe. So there's just. Yes, it is based on kind of a D20 type system, but you don't have like some of the tried and true things going on, like as far as protection goes. And so then getting into a fight or getting into like a physical altercation with anything is actually a very, very dangerous proposition for you and the other players, just basically because of the fact that it's trying to embody real life a little bit. You have like there's basically 5 levels that you can go through, and each level you actually gain in some power and ability, just that are going to enhance your kid. But for the most part, you after you roll up your character, you're pretty much what you're going to be. And you're going up, because it's this strange world that you're dealing with, the stuff you're going up against, whether it be werewolves or an alien or, like some sort of like telekinetic beast, if you will, those things are fairly powerful. And yes, you are living in a situation where, you are in the know, right? I mean, things are not right, but you shouldn't be investigating them, right? If you could somehow convince like the people that actually have weapons, if you could somehow convince like the police that yes, there are man-eating aliens running around in the woods, killing hunters and what have you, then yeah, they could probably go out there with shotguns and what have you to go and take care of that. But they're under the impression that the people that have vanished are like kids who have run away, or things like that. There's a more natural thing. You're the one who saw the creature in the forest, and you're spooked out, but you can't convince anybody that that's it. So now it like the time honored satisfaction is it falls onto the kids to solve the problem. So now, the basic rules are there, right? I mean, it's just like if you're gonna roll, you're rolling d20s. You're gonna be using your combat skills to fight things. If you roll high, obviously it's better. Same difference, like, for your skills, if you will, when you're trying to negotiate with things, you're trying to intimidate people, you're trying to do like any sort of acrobatic situation. Like, you have these physical skills, you have mental skills, you have charisma based skills, things like that. You're just rolling against those. But for the most part, this is a narrative type game. You are going to be working together with the game master, trying to just come up with a good story. You're trying to come up with a reason why you are there. But don't worry, I mean, it isn't like a complete narrative type thing, like a dungeon world type thing, where it's like, it's like everybody's just kind of working together and telling a story together. There are some elements to that, which I think is really cool. And role playing really well is worth experience points. Experience points are given out like on a 1 point basis. Like, if you survive a session, you get a point. That's what you get. If you did really good role playing in a situation, you get a point. So you get little points, and so I think it's 5 or 6 points is second level, and then 14 total points is third level, and so on. So this isn't where you're handing out thousands of experience points or anything when these things happen. Plus, there's a thing where if one person was the hero of the session, they did something, they sacrificed something, or they worked really hard on something, and they were the hero of the story, they get an extra bonus point. Only one person can get that. So, another mechanism that I really liked was that all stuff breaks. So, say you have, as in your starting equipment, you have a switchblade. You're like the bully, so you have a switchblade that you intimidate people with. Well, as luck would have it, now, since you're fighting, some sort of Cthulhu monster that's coming out of the acid waste of the swamp that's nearby, every time you use an item that you're gonna for some purpose, obviously your knife stabbing something, or you're just any of your equipment, you most stuff starts with a D10. You roll that D10. If you roll a 1, 2, or 3, you now roll a D8 for that stuff, and then you roll 1, 2, or 3 for that, and then you keep going down, right, until you get down to a D4. And if you use an item that has a D4 and you roll a 1 or a 2, it's broken and it's gone, which I really liked. I mean, because it's kind of, the first time you're using something, yeah, it's working okay, but eventually you're going to roll that number, and that stuff's going to degrade and it's going to break, and you're not going to be able to use it anymore. And I kind of dug that not everything was perfect, and you had to replace stuff. So I thought that was cool. But anyway, so the rules of it are fairly straightforward, right? They're very open. I mean, it's just it's one of those things where it's oh, I'm gonna try to intimidate this thing. Oh, how are you gonna do that? Oh, well, I'm gonna tell him that my dad is the big real estate agent and he's gonna have his job if he doesn't let me into the restaurant. Okay, that's cool. And so you can give little bonus points or advantage, if you're familiar with the 5th edition term. You can allow them, people have advantage, and then the bad things would be disadvantage. Advantage, if you don't know what that means, you roll 2 d20s and you take the highest roll of the 2 d20s. And disadvantage means that you roll those 2 dice and the lowest one is the one that you use. So you can give advantage or disadvantage due to different things that people have, and the different things and things that they have access to as well. Obviously, if you had a crowbar, you're going to get an advantage to prying open a door, as opposed to if you were just trying to kick it down. So things like that are really helpful. But other than that, I mean, the game is kind of set up to be played kind of fast and loose. It is meant to be played, I think, as, in my opinion, a very episodic TV show. I mean, obviously they're basing this on the whole, that all those movies, and of course the most recent example, Stranger Things. The whole idea of kids having to investigate things, kids having to take care of those things. And it is a situation but it's violent and they can die, and so you have to be careful. And of course, kids dying is going to make everything more difficult, because if you went out in the forest and one of you got eaten by the Cthulhu monster or whatever it is, then that adds problems. Not one, the player's got to make a new character, right? But that's the cool thing, right? They always have more kids in the high school. But no, but now all of a sudden parents aren't going to want to let you go out. That's a thing that exists, right? You've seen that in how many movies? Like, you're not allowed to go outside. It's too dangerous. And then you're sneaking out the back door, to get out of there or whatever. And there's all kinds of cool things like that. Like, if there's rules, like if you're 16, you have a driver's license. But if you're not 16, no, and then like your age is determined randomly. So if you're not 16, you don't get to be able to drive. But then even if you can drive, you got to steal the keys to the car. And you got to get the car home or else you're going to be grounded. And so, yeah, there's cool, like, things, there's cool mysteries that you're investigating and trying to discover. But there's also, like, the real life of being a kid in the 80s and what's going on. Now, I grew up in the 80s, so I totally know what it was like to grow up in the 80s. But there is a big chart in here that kind of describes what the 80s were like. And, like, the fact that people had tape players instead of, like, instead of having digital music, you had music on a tape. I made a lot of tapes. Anyway, I made tons of mixtapes when I was younger. But so there's all those different things that kind of are different. And so if you're not a child of the 80s, and I was technically a child of the 70s, but if you're not a child of the 80s, then you don't know what it was like to grow up in that era. It definitely does help you out. I mean, like I said, it definitely draws. There are some sample adventures. They kind of go through like the setting of J-Town, as they call it. They talk about the different shops and buildings and people that live there. They also talk about like a lot of the different like possible supernatural things going on, and they give some wonderful good stats or whatever. They also, if you don't have that, you want to just make a random villain, like you want to just create something that's going on, there's a really cool random NPC villain generator where you can just create a complete and total new villain like on the fly. Like if you're just saying, well, it's like maybe there is like some evil scientist type dude they came to the city because they're looking for whatever, they're looking for traces of alien hybrids or whatever, and so then you need to make that guy. You can roll them up. They have quirks. They have all kinds of things like that, and now you've got a person there that's messing with people. So there's definitely the different creatures that they've created, and they put them that are obviously created, like here's like the Phantom Fairlane, obviously created from Stephen King's book Christine. There is the Killer of Your Dreams, which is a Freddy Krueger homage, if you will. There's some Gremlins, if you will. So I guessing, in my opinion, the creators of this game, a dude by the name of Eric Bloat, he is a child of the 80s as well, and so he definitely has a hard and fast love for that world. So like I said, I played this with my daughter, who is 10, and my wife, who is 30. So they didn't really quite understand the 80s references, if you will. But they both enjoyed the fact that they both had high school students. One, my daughter got to pretend she was older. My wife got to pretend she was younger. And I got to run them through kind of a little sample weirdness adventure, if you will, about chupacabras that were in the outskirts of the town. And how these chupacabras were running around and killing neighborhood pets. And neighborhood pets were vanishing. And so and they tracked down the chupacabra mom, if you will, and they were able to kill it and then drive the rest of the chupacabra away. Now that was a fun little evening, right? It took us about maybe 3-4 hours to play, but they all had fun and they liked it. It was because I think it's a combination of the ease of presentation of the adventure, but also it's rooted in believability. It's easy to move into an RPG element. It's easy to start role playing if it's more attuned to your real life. So you're a person, and this is a person. This isn't a wizard. It's you're a kid, especially if you're a kid and you're playing a kid. It's kind of easy to fall into that. And two, it was my daughter has watched a lot of the same movies that I have when I was younger. And so she digs those, but my wife has definitely watched those. And so they were able to see the type of movies and shows, if you will, represented by this. And they were able to kind of, you know, like, go into that mindset. And it worked out really, really well. So yeah. That is Dark Places and Demogorgons. If you have any questions about it, ask away. If you're looking, I'm definitely keeping this on my pile to bring to, like, when I go to a few local conventions, and one of them is very, very RPG oriented. I am definitely going to be bringing this, and I think running a session. I think because, like, I was really, really entranced with the whole process of, like, basically, you know, tracking down that chupacabra mother and taking it out. And it was like, basically it was like the kids were over a weekend type of thing, which is really cool as well. Like, so it's like, oh, it's the weekend, so like that like frees kids up, right? So it's like a real life thing. But during the day they have to go to school, school, you know. And so, but I mean, and I maybe someday I'd run a campaign in this system. I think it would be fun to kind of like see the kids grow up, right? And like, and maybe kids would even like go off to college, if you will, and so you'd have to make new characters, play the younger brother or things like that. So, it's just a really cool game. And like I said, if you've played D&D, you definitely know the system, because it is you're not going to have any kind of like blocks preventing you from diving into having a lot of fun with it. So there you go. If you have any questions about Dark Places and Demogorgons, please ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and until next time, have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright, bye-bye.